This is Michael Hale from RedZone Radio. It's Tuesday morning, February 3rd, 6 a.m. on the dot, and I don't think anybody in this country needs me to explain what that date means anymore.
Yeah.
1 year ago, today, we were sitting right here. Same walls, same microphones, same coffee that tasted like burned pennies, and we were hearing reports that didn't sound real. People dropping in subway stations, ambulances stuck in traffic with nowhere to go, hospitals asking radio stations for supplies because their phones wouldn't stop ringing.
I remember thinking, okay, it's another bad winter thing. Like another headline that feels loud for a week and then it fades.
And instead it became the year that ate everything.
The Black Death year.
People call it that now because they need a name big enough to hold the weight. Not because it makes anyone feel better. Not because it's dramatic. Just because saying the pandemic doesn't cover what happened. It doesn't cover 12 million gone across the United States. It doesn't cover the empty schools, the silent churches, the packed freezer trucks, the way whole neighborhoods just stopped.
It doesn't cover the smell. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, say it. That's what today is.
The way the city smelled when the sanitation crews couldn't keep up. The way you'd walk 2 blocks and realize you were holding your breath and your shoulders were up by your ears. And you'd tell yourself to relax, but you couldn't because you didn't know if the air was...
We're not going to sanitize it today. We're not going to pretend. We're going to remember the truth.
And we're going to remember the people.
I stayed on air through the darkest days, not because I'm brave. I want that clear. I stayed because there were nights when the street outside was empty and the phones were quiet, and the only thing between me and losing my mind was talking into this microphone and believing someone, somewhere, was listening.
You used to say, if the signal's still up, we're still up.
I said a lot of things last year that sounded strong. Most of it was me trying not to fall apart.
I'm gonna say something, and I don't want anyone to get weird about it, but I shouldn't be here.
Jenny...
No, listen, I got sick in week 2. I don't tell the story a lot because it's private, and it's ugly, and I don't want it to become a look how tough I am thing. But it's the 1 year mark, and people are sending messages already saying, where were you when it started? And I can't sit here and ask everybody to be honest if I'm not.
Go ahead.
Week 2. I came in feeling warm. Not feverish, not yet. Just warm. And I joked about it. I said, I'm fine, it's nothing, I'm probably just tired, and I remember you looking at me like you wanted to yell, but you didn't.
I remember.
That night I started coughing. By the next morning I couldn't stand without the room tilting. They told me to isolate. 23 days in a back bedroom in my cousin's apartment because my place had already been flagged, and I was alone most of that time.
23 days.
I'd count the hours. I'd wake up thinking it was morning and it was still dark. I'd hear people in the hallway and I wouldn't know if it was real or if my brain was doing that thing where it tries to protect you by making up noise. And I remember one night, I remember thinking, I'm going to die and nobody's going to know until somebody needs to use the bathroom.
Don't.
I lived. I don't know why. I don't know why me, but I did. And when I came back, the building had different faces. Like half the people were new or gone. And I walked into the studio, and the first thing I noticed wasn't the equipment or the schedule.
The chair.
The empty chair.
We'll talk about David. We will. Not right this second, but we will.
Okay.
For anyone just tuning in, this is RedZone Radio. No music today. No nonsense today. We're doing something we promised ourselves we'd do if we made it to the 1 year mark.
18 hours.
18 hours of survivor stories and rebuilding updates. Across the country. Not just New York. Not just the coasts. Not just the places that make the news. We're going to talk about the towns that got erased, and the neighborhoods that never reopened, and the families who are rebuilding out of basements and church kitchens and abandoned schools.
And if you're listening in a place where you felt forgotten last year, if you felt like the whole country looked at you and then looked away, today is for you too.
We've got lines open. We've got messages coming in already. But first, we're going to acknowledge what this day is.
National Day of Remembrance.
You might be hearing local memorial bells. You might be hearing nothing at all because your town doesn't have the people to organize something anymore. Either way, you're not alone. Not today.
We're here with you.
All right, let's start with where most people start when they talk about last year. The moment they realized it was real.
Okay, we've got a caller already. Name is Marcus, Brooklyn.
All right, Jenny, you take it.
Marcus, you're on RedZone. Take your time. Where were you when you realized this wasn't just rumors?
I was on Nostrand, just walking to the bodega like normal. I had my hood up because it was cold, and I remember thinking, why is it so quiet? You know how Brooklyn is. It's never quiet. Even at like 7 in the morning, there's always somebody yelling, somebody playing something out of car.
Yeah.
And then I saw my neighbor, Mr. Halverson, old guy, lived 2 doors down. He was always out early, always sweeping his steps. He was on the sidewalk, just kind of bent over like he dropped his keys.
Okay.
I said, "Yo, you good?" And he looked at me. He didn't answer. His eyes looked wrong, like he was trying to focus through fog. And then he went down, just folded, like his bones turned off.
Just collapsed.
Yeah, and I ran to him, stupid, I know now. I ran right up, I grabbed his shoulder. He was hot, like heat through a winter coat. And he tried to breathe, and it was like he couldn't get the air to do what he wanted.
Did you call for help?
I called 911, busy. Called again, busy. Called again, busy. I yelled for somebody, and people were peeking out windows, like we were in a horror movie. Like if you open your door, you die. That's exactly what it felt like. He was my neighbor. He wasn't a headline. He wasn't a statistic. He fixed my bike when I was a kid. He gave my mom soup when she was sick one winter. And he died on the sidewalk like trash because nobody could come.
Marcus, I'm so sorry.
And you know what's wild? That was the first time, and I still went home and thought, okay, maybe it's just him. Like my brain couldn't accept what it meant, because if it meant what it meant, then everything was about to change.
Did you get sick?
I did. Week 3. I lived. My sister didn't. She was 26.
Thank you for calling. Seriously. Thank you for saying his name on air.
Mr. Halverson.
Mr. Halverson. We hear you. Stay with us today, okay?
Yeah, I'm listening.
That's the thing. People want one moment, one clear moment when they realized, but for most of us it was like the water rising. You don't notice until you're already wet.
Messages are pouring in. I was at work and half the office got sent home. I was on I-95 and the rest stops were closed. I was in Tulsa and the grocery shelves went bare overnight. I was in Fresno and my uncle said the hospital parking lot looked like a war zone.
Everywhere, all at once.
And in those first weeks, misinformation didn't just confuse people, it killed people.
That's true.
We can't pretend it didn't. There were officials saying it was contained when it wasn't. There were rumors saying it was fake when it wasn't. There were people selling miracle cures and desperate families buying them.
There were folks on the radio, not here, but elsewhere, telling people to ignore quarantine guidance, telling people to live your life.
And then we watched refrigerated trucks line up.
I keep thinking about the way we were all searching for certainty, like certainty would protect us.
It didn't.
Okay, we have to do the official thing. There's a government memorial announcement that went out early this morning, and we're going to read it once, clean, and then we're going back to people's voices.
Go ahead.
This is from the Federal Memorial Office. Today, February 3rd, is recognized as the National Day of Remembrance. Communities are encouraged to observe local moments of reflection, honor medical workers and essential staff, and support survivors through volunteer and donation programs.
That's it. That's the announcement.
Okay.
Now let's talk about where we are right now, 1 year later. Because the grief isn't just in memories, it's visible.
You mean the city?
New York City population estimates are down around 40% from before. 40. That's not just a number. That's closed storefronts, dark apartment windows, empty subway cars, schools with half the students.
It's whole blocks where you can walk and not see anybody.
And it's not just New York. Detroit, Chicago, New Orleans, Seattle, all of them took hits. Some rural counties lost so many people they can't even staff the county offices now. In parts of the Southwest, you've got towns that basically merged because neither one had enough people left.
America got rearranged.
Which brings us to the studio. We've been avoiding it for 10 minutes, so I'm going to say it.
Okay.
There's an empty chair in this room. If you listened last year, you know the voice that used to come from it.
David.
David didn't make it. Former co-host, producer. The guy who would roll his eyes at my dramatic pauses and then quietly save the whole show with a single note on a sticky pad.
He was the one who remembered birthdays.
He was the one who remembered that callers are people, not segments.
He got sick fast.
Too fast. And we kept coming in after, and we kept working, because what else were we going to do? But I want to say his name now, because today is full of names that don't get said enough.
David Hale.
David Hale. We're still here because he helped keep us here. That's the truth.
Okay.
All right, we're going to keep moving because the way we honor people is by telling the story straight.
We've got a message from a listener in Atlanta. I was driving my mom to dialysis, and they turned us away at the door, told us the building was locked down. She died at home 3 days later, not from plague, from everything else collapsing.
That's another piece people forget. It wasn't just the plague deaths. It was the ripple deaths. The ones that happen when the system breaks.
When a heart attack becomes a death sentence because there's no ambulance.
When insulin runs out. When dialysis stops. When childbirth happens without help. The Black Death year was 1,000 disasters stacked on top of each other.
And it made people mean sometimes. Let's be honest.
It did. Fear makes people cruel. Fear makes people selfish. Fear makes people do things they wouldn't recognize in themselves.
But fear also made people heroic.
It did.
Okay, we're getting a call request from Dr. Sarah Chen, ER physician. She says she worked peak.
Female caller. I'll take it. Dr. Chen, you're on RedZone. Thank you for calling. And thank you for what you did.
I don't know how to take that, honestly, but okay, thank you.
You worked emergency during the worst stretch?
96-hour shifts. Not all in one go, but it felt like it. You'd go home and sleep 2 hours and wake up and your phone would be, I'm not even going to say it. You know.
I know.
Week 1, we were confused. People came in with fevers, bleeding gums, bruising that looked like they'd been hit. We treated it like a severe infection. We isolated when we could. But we didn't have rooms. We didn't have staff. We didn't have the equipment because supply shipments were already failing.
Week 2?
Week 2, we were overwhelmed. Not busy. Overwhelmed. Stretchers in hallways, people on chairs, families screaming because they couldn't come in with their loved ones. We were calling other hospitals, and they were screaming back, we can't take anybody.
And week 3?
Mass casualties. That's the phrase. It's cold, but it's accurate. You stopped seeing patients. You started seeing numbers. You'd look at a room and do math because you had limited oxygen, limited meds, limited time, and you'd have to decide who got the chance.
People don't understand what that does to you.
No, they don't, because you can't explain it without sounding like a monster. But the truth is, if you didn't do it, everyone would die.
How many staff did you lose?
12 in my hospital. 12. Nurses, doctors, a security guard who walked people to their cars at night. I watched my colleagues, my friends, and I held their hands when they couldn't breathe anymore.
I'm sorry.
I don't want sorry. I want people to stop pretending it wasn't real. I still hear it sometimes. People saying, oh, they exaggerated. No, we didn't exaggerate. If anything, we couldn't describe how bad it was because we didn't have the words.
We hear you.
And I want to say one more thing. The survivors, the ones who made it, they look okay sometimes, but they're not okay. They come back with anxiety, nightmares, weird symptoms. Their bodies aren't the same. And the grief is everywhere.
Thank you, Doctor. Stay with us.
I will. Jenny, that timeline, it matches what people message us. Week 1 confusion, week 2 collapse, week 3 that word.
Week 3. Mass casualties.
We have a female caller from Queens, also named Sarah, different Sarah. She says she lost her kids.
I'll take it.
Sarah, you're on. Take your time.
I don't have time. That's the thing. I didn't have time last year either. It all happened too fast. I had 3 kids. 3. And I lost all 3 in 5 days.
Oh my God.
One started coughing, then the second one, then the third, and I took them to the hospital and they wouldn't let me in. They took them from me at the door. And I understand why. I understand the rules. I'm not calling to scream at you. I'm calling because it doesn't feel real, even now.
What are you doing now, Sarah?
I volunteer at an orphan support center because if I don't hold somebody else's kid, I feel like I'm disappearing, like I'm just a ghost walking around in a city full of ghosts.
You're not a ghost. You're a mother. You will always be their mother.
Say their names.
Tell me.
Caleb, Naomi, Ellie.
Caleb, Naomi, Ellie.
Thank you.
Thank you for trusting us with that. Stay on the line with our team if you want resources. And if you don't, if you just want to hang up and sit in your kitchen and breathe, that's okay too.
I'll just listen. Thank you.
I can't do the radio voice after that. I'm sorry.
Don't do it. Nobody needs it.
Messages coming in from Kansas City, from Boise, from Miami. People saying we had makeshift morgues and ice rinks. People saying we used refrigerated trucks. That phrase, it still makes my stomach turn.
We all saw it. And people in rural areas saw something different. They saw silence. They saw nobody coming at all.
We'll get to that later today.
Right now, I'm going to do something hard. Because one of the key points of today is honesty. And last year, I wasn't always honest, even when I thought I was.
Michael.
No. People need to hear this. Because it happened to a lot of folks. They were doing their job, reporting, living, and they didn't know someone they loved was already infected.
Okay.
I'm going to read what I said on air last year, February 10th. Not as a dramatic thing, as a record. Because it shows how little we knew even a week into it.
Go ahead.
We're hearing reports of fever clusters in multiple boroughs. Officials say the risk to the general public remains low. Hospitals are advising calm. That's what I said. And while I was saying it, my wife Karen was at home with chills.
Michael.
She didn't tell me. Because she didn't want to scare me. And because she thought it was nothing. And because that's what we all did. We minimized because the truth was too big.
She was gone 6 days later.
She was gone 6 days later.
I'm so sorry.
Don't say sorry like it's over. It's not over. We're living in the aftershock, every day.
Okay, we need to talk about ghost zones, because people keep asking what's still closed, what's still abandoned.
There are neighborhoods in the Bronx and parts of Brooklyn that are still largely empty. Not because officials declared them cursed, because people left and never came back. Because buildings got boarded. Because services stopped. Because the trauma got soaked into the walls.
People call them ghost zones because you can walk through and hear your own footsteps.
And out in the country, there are ghost zones too. Towns where the only thing moving is a wind-blown sign.
We also keep getting mentions of someone named Radio Tom.
Yeah, a recurring caller. People say he survived alone in an apartment for 4 months.
Folks are asking if he's listening today.
If you're out there, Tom, the line's open.
Okay. We're moving into mid-morning. It's 9 a.m. The city's awake in that half-awake way it has now. Not the old energy. Different.
Part of today is not just grief. It's also the question everybody asks, what now?
So we're shifting to rebuilding. Reports are coming in from Lower Manhattan. Financial District is about 70% operational again. Not back. Operational. Big difference.
Partial totals. New screening protocols, limited capacity, health check requirements. It's not the old world. It's a version of the world that learned fear.
We have a caller, James, construction worker. Male caller, I'll take it. James, you're on RedZone. Tell us what rebuilding looks like where you are.
Rebuilding looks like wearing a mask that makes your face sweat and having your temperature checked 5 times a day. It looks like ripping out old ventilation systems and putting in new ones like the buildings are long.
What are you working on right now?
We're converting old Mary out on 45th into a permanent quarantine facility. It's weird, man. Building for the next plague while we're still dealing with this one.
Do people think there's going to be another outbreak?
Everyone does. That's just reality now. We build different, plan different. Everything's got decontamination zones, separate airflow, isolation rooms. The world changed.
How many people are on that project?
800, which sounds like a lot until you remember how many people used to be on a job like this. But 800 people working, that means paychecks, that means food on tables. That means some kind of future.
That matters.
It does. And I tell you something else. Every day when we walk into that building, somebody always says a name, somebody they lost, like we're building it in their memory. It's not official, it's not planned, it just happens.
That's beautiful, James.
It's heavy, but yeah, it's something.
Thank you for calling. Please stay safe.
You too.
That's the thing. Recovery doesn't sound like fireworks. It sounds like 800 workers showing up exhausted and still going.
We also have updates on Central Park. Memorial names being engraved. 890,000 names for New York City alone.
890,000. People hear that and their brain refuses to hold it, so it turns into a fog. But those are parents, kids, doctors, teachers, bus drivers, people who knew your coffee order.
People who left an empty chair somewhere.
Survivor communities also kept people alive. Neighborhoods that self-organized. People who weren't officials but acted like it because someone had to.
Harlem Food Collective. They fed thousands during lockdown. They're still operating.
That's the story America doesn't tell enough. Mutual aid. Strangers becoming infrastructure.
We have a community organizer coming on, not a caller, a local voice, but we're keeping it short because we're not doing endless interviews today.
Go ahead.
Tell us what you're seeing with mental health.
Survivors are walking around like their souls are bruised. People can't sleep. People jump at door slams. People don't trust crowds. And the worst part is, some of them feel guilty for being alive.
Survivor's guilt.
Yeah, and the resources aren't enough. Not even close. We're trying to build peer support networks because therapy is expensive, and half the therapists left the city.
Schools are reopening too.
Hybrid model, reduced capacity, constant monitoring. Kids are scared, parents are scared, teachers are scared. Everyone's pretending they're not.
Thank you. Seriously.
Speaking of apartments, we have a message here that's making my stomach drop. A listener says they returned to their pre-plague apartment and found remains.
That happened a lot.
It did. People left in a rush, or they got quarantined somewhere else, or they died and nobody had the manpower to clear the building. And 1 year later, someone unlocks a door and the past is still sitting there.
Like the year never ended.
Which brings us to the next segment, Beyond the City.
Rural America.
It's 10:30, late morning, and for a lot of rural places, the plague year wasn't chaos, it was abandonment.
We have a phone report from Montana. Small towns wiped out, survivors relocated.
And we have a caller, Thomas, male caller, so Jenny, you take it.
Thomas, you're on RedZone. Where are you calling from?
I'm not supposed to give the exact place. They told me not to. But it's Wyoming. Town was called Millbrook.
Millbrook, Wyoming.
Town of 340. Before. Now it's 1.
You're the only one left?
Yeah.
Thomas, what happened?
It started like everywhere. Somebody got sick. Then another. But here's the difference. We called for help. And nobody came. Not because they didn't care. I don't know. Maybe they didn't. But mostly because the roads were a mess, and the hospitals were far, and the supply chain collapsed. So we had to do it ourselves.
You had no medical aid.
We had a retired nurse. She did what she could until she got sick. Then it was just me and whoever still could stand.
You said you're the only one now.
I buried 43 people myself. My neighbors, my family, the pastor, the grocer. Just me and a shovel in the church cemetery.
Thomas.
Quiet. Someone had to stay. Someone had to remember. I'm the memory of Millbrook now. That's my job.
You're not alone, Thomas. We're listening. Everyone's listening.
Yeah, I know. That helps.
Are you still there in Millbrook?
No. They moved me. Relocation program. I fought it at first. But the truth is, there's nothing to stay for. No store, no school, no people. Just wind and empty houses. And sometimes I'd look at a house and think I saw someone in the window, and it would just be a curtain moving. That's haunting. It is. I still dream of digging. My hands cramp in my sleep. I wake up and I'm holding my fists like I'm still gripping the shovel.
What do you want people to know?
I want people to know it didn't just hit cities. Everybody talks about New York, LA, Chicago, but there were little places that vanished without anybody filming it, without anybody naming it. So, say it again. Say the town.
Millbrook, Wyoming.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling. Stay with us today.
I will.
Thomas, you're on RedZone. Where are you calling from?
I'm not supposed to give the exact place. They told me not to. But it's Wyoming. Town was called Millbrook.
Millbrook, Wyoming.
Town of 340. Before. Now it's 1.
You're the only one left?
Yeah.
Thomas, what happened?
It started like everywhere. Somebody got sick. Then another. But here's the difference. We called for help. And nobody came. Not because they didn't care. I don't know. Maybe they didn't. But mostly because the roads were a mess, and the hospitals were far, and the supply chain collapsed. So we had to do it ourselves.
You had no medical aid.
We had a retired nurse. She did what she could until she got sick. Then it was just me and whoever still could stand.
You said you're the only one now.
I buried 43 people myself. My neighbors, my family, the pastor, the grocer. Just me and a shovel in the church cemetery.
Thomas.
Quiet. Someone had to stay. Someone had to remember. I'm the memory of Millbrook now. That's my job.
You're not alone, Thomas. We're listening. Everyone's listening.
Yeah, I know. That helps.
Are you still there in Millbrook?
No. They moved me. Relocation program. I fought it at first. But the truth is, there's nothing to stay for. No store, no school, no people. Just wind and empty houses. And sometimes I'd look at a house and think I saw someone in the window, and it would just be a curtain moving. That's haunting. It is. I still dream of digging. My hands cramp in my sleep. I wake up and I'm holding my fists like I'm still gripping the shovel.
What do you want people to know?
I want people to know it didn't just hit cities. Everybody talks about New York, LA, Chicago, but there were little places that vanished without anybody filming it, without anybody naming it. So, say it again. Say the town.
Millbrook, Wyoming.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling. Stay with us today.
I will.
Millbrook, Wyoming. That's America too.
Supply chain collapse hit rural areas hardest. People in cities at least had hospitals, even if they were packed. Some rural counties had one clinic and then it shut down. No staff, no meds, no fuel.
And the agricultural impact, 40% reduction in food production. That's why rationing still exists in a lot of regions. That's why you can go into a store in St. Louis or Phoenix and see empty sections like it's normal now.
And reservations. Native communities got hit devastatingly. Some lost 80%.
That's not a footnote. That's a wound in the country's spine.
We have to do one more official note because it's tied to this segment. There's a government reconstruction initiative for rural areas. We are keeping it brief.
One statement. Go.
Federal Rural Reconstruction Initiative announced today includes road clearing, trade route protection, and resource delivery prioritization for isolated counties and tribal regions.
That's it. Back to real voices.
Urban versus rural survival rates? People argue about it like it's sports, like it's a contest. But it's not.
It's about access. It's about timing. It's about whether your hospital had power and staff and oxygen. And now it's about whether your town gets rebuilt or quietly erased.
Okay. It's noon approaching.
Memorial hour.
I'm not ready.
Nobody is. But we do it anyway.
It's 12 o'clock Eastern. National moment of silence.
We're not doing theatrics. We're just stopping. Together.
If you're driving, pull over if you can. If you're at work, just put your hand on the table. If you're alone, put your hand on your own chest and feel that you're still here.
12 million souls. 12 million stories. 12 million empty chairs.
Okay.
We're going to read names. Not all. We can't. There are too many. But we're going to read some. And if your person's name isn't read, that doesn't mean they don't matter. It means the loss is bigger than language.
I'll start. Jennifer Martinez, age 34, nurse.
David Hale, age 45, radio producer.
Rebecca Chen, age 8.
Marcus Thompson, age 67.
Sarah Williams, age 29, pregnant.
James Rodriguez, age 52.
Aisha Johnson, age 16.
Thomas Halverson, age 71.
That one's for Marcus. Brooklyn Collar.
Yeah.
Angela Brooks, age 41, teacher.
Henry Park, age 59. Bus operator.
I can't keep.
Breathe. I've got it. Carlin Wynn, age 22.
God.
We're going to pause the names. Not because we're done. Because we're human.
We can't read them all. There are too many. But we remember. God, we remember.
Every single one.
We're getting calls from kids.
Okay. We do it carefully. We don't exploit it. We let them speak.
First is a boy. Name's Eli. Male caller. I'll take it. Eli, you're on RedZone. You don't have to be brave for us. You just have to be honest.
Hi, I'm 12. I lost my mom and dad, and my aunt says today is important, so I wanted to call and say I remember my dad's hands. They were always rough from work, and he'd tap the steering wheel when he drove, like he was playing drums.
That's a beautiful detail, Eli.
I don't want to forget it. Sometimes I think if I forget little stuff, then it's like he's really gone.
You won't forget. And if you ever feel like you're forgetting, you say it out loud like you just did. That keeps it alive.
Okay.
Are you with family right now?
Yeah, my aunt's here. She's crying.
Tell her she's doing a good job, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Next is a girl. Name is Maya. Female caller. Michael, you take it.
Maya, you're on. I'm here.
I'm 15. I lost my mom and my little brother, and everybody keeps telling me I'm strong, and I hate it because I don't want to be strong. I want to be normal.
I know.
They say you're so strong, like it's a compliment, but it's like I didn't choose this. I didn't choose to have to be strong.
You're right. You didn't.
I'm with my grandma now, and she forgets stuff. So sometimes she'll ask where my mom is, and I have to tell her again, and it's like reliving it every time.
That's brutal, Maya. I'm so sorry.
I just wanted someone to say her name.
Tell me.
Nicole.
Nicole. Nicole mattered. Nicole still matters.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling, Maya. Stay with us today.
I will.
Memorials across the nation. People are sharing what they're doing. Times Square gathering. DC reflection pool ceremony. Candle lines in small towns.
And international messages, because it wasn't only America. It hit 47 countries. People in other languages have their own words for this year, their own anniversaries, their own empty chairs.
We got a letter. Michael.
Yeah, a listener sent a letter. They lost their entire family. I'm going to read part of it. Not all, just enough to honor it.
Okay.
I used to cook for 6. Now I cook for 1, and I still make too much. I set out plates by habit. I stand in the grocery aisle and forget why I'm there. People tell me to be grateful I survived. I am grateful. I am also furious. I am also lonely. I am also a room full of echoes.
That's exactly it.
That's why we're doing this. Because grief is not a neat story. It doesn't tie up. It sits down next to you and doesn't leave.
It's 1:30 now, and we're transitioning out of the memorial hour into the afternoon, not because we're done mourning, but because people also need to hear what's being built.
That's the end of Section 1's time block. We've honored the mourning, we've honored the dead, we've heard survivors, and we've started to talk about what's rising out of ash.
Next is government voices, policy, quarantine zones, the fight about travel, the fear about new variants, the anger, the accountability.
And we're going to keep it grounded. We're going to keep it human. Because this isn't politics for sport. It's life and death for millions.
If you're still listening, thank you. If you had to turn it off because it hurts, we understand. Come back when you can.
This is Michael Hale.
And Jenny.
RedZone Radio. 1 year later. We'll continue. It's 1:30 in the afternoon Eastern Time. You're listening to RedZone Radio. This is still the National Day of Remembrance. Still the 1 year mark. And we're still here with you.
We're moving into the part of the day where people stop crying into their coffee and start asking the scary questions. The ones that don't have clean answers.
Where do we go from here? What's still locked down? What rules are coming next? What help is real help? What's just words?
And what happens if it comes back?
We're going to do this in the same way we've done everything today. We're going to keep it human. We're going to keep it grounded. No speeches. No pretending.
You've been sending messages all day. People in the red zones. People outside them. People who lost everything. People who lost nobody but still lost the world they recognized.
We're also going to remind you of something before we bring on any officials. If you're feeling angry right now, you're not wrong to feel that. If you're feeling suspicious, you're not crazy. If you're tired of being told to move on, you're not weak.
You survived something that rewired your brain.
All right. Part 6. Government voices. Policy updates. Quarantine zones. Travel rules. The stuff that decides whether your life can move 2 states over or stays trapped in 1 zip code.
We have an administrator from FEMA on the line. Name here says Administrator Collins.
FEMA administrator is female. I'll take the call. Administrator Collins, you're on RedZone Radio. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Jenny. I know this day is heavy for everyone.
Is. Let's keep this practical. How many active quarantine zones remain nationwide?
23 remain active in some form. The majority are smaller, localized containment areas. A handful are still classified as red or orange restrictions.
23 is not mostly resolved, Administrator.
I didn't say resolved. I said active in some form. We've made significant progress since the peak, but there are still flare-ups, and we have to respond quickly.
People listening right now have been behind checkpoints for months, some for almost a year. They don't want progress language. They want dates.
I understand. We're transitioning zones based on transmission risk, medical capacity, and supply stability.
Let's talk about one that's been on everyone's mind. Brooklyn RedZone. What's the plan?
The Brooklyn RedZone is projected to transition to yellow status by April. That would allow limited movement with screening protocols and control checkpoints.
That's what you said in November.
The November outbreak changed the timeline. We were responding to an unexpected resurgence.
People hear unexpected, and they hear you didn't know what you were doing. That's the gap.
We are managing an unprecedented event in modern history. I'm not asking anyone to trust blindly. I'm asking them to understand that conditions change.
Conditions change. Meanwhile, families live divided by barricades. The second topic, health passports for interstate travel. Where does that stand right now?
Several states are participating in a coordinated health screening system. It's designed to verify testing status, vaccination status where applicable, and recent exposure risk before cross-state movement.
People call it a passport. Some call it a permission slip. Some call it surveillance. What do you call it?
I call it an imperfect tool designed to reduce spread while allowing economic movement. Without it, states shut their borders entirely, and we saw that chaos last year.
This is the part where listeners argue. Civil liberties versus safety. And I want to be clear. Americans are not wrong for worrying about rights.
I agree. That's why the system includes oversight and expiration on data retention.
Oversight by who?
Joint federal and state committees, public health auditors, and independent review boards.
People are going to ask what independent means when everyone's paycheck comes from someone.
I understand the distrust, but the alternative is unchecked spread. We're trying to balance two realities that both hurt.
Borders. Entry restrictions from how many countries right now?
Current restrictions limit entry from 89 countries based on outbreak activity, reporting reliability, and vaccination availability.
That affects families. That affects workers. That affects supply chains. Speaking of supply, economic recovery plan. What's the federal focus?
Small business stabilization, housing reconstruction in high-loss regions, and medical staffing programs. We're prioritizing essential industries, food production, logistics, healthcare infrastructure.
Housing. Millions displaced. Tent cities in major metros. What can you say to the people listening from those places?
I can say we're not ignoring it. Temporary shelters are being expanded and longer-term housing projects are underway, but construction is limited by labor shortages and supply shortages.
Labor shortages because people died.
Yes.
One more thing. CDC report. New variant detected in Seattle. People are hearing that and their stomach drops. What can you confirm?
A variant has been detected. It appears contained. Monitoring is active. This does not mean the country is returning to a full-scale wave.
Appears contained is not comforting language.
It's honest language. If I say it's contained and then it's not, I lose credibility. We learned that the hard way.
All right. Administrator Collins, thank you for being here. I know you'll get yelled at for some of this, but you showed up.
That's part of the job. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to say something without aiming it at her specifically. People hear those numbers, 23 quarantine zones, 89 restricted countries, and it still feels like we're living under emergency forever.
Yeah.
People want a finish line, but the finish line keeps moving, and every time it moves, somebody's life gets smaller.
We have a caller who wants to address the health passport question. Civil liberties versus public safety. Male caller, so Jenny, you take it.
You're on RedZone. Name?
Evan, Ohio. And listen, I lost my uncle. I'm not some denial guy. I'm not calling to say the plague wasn't real. I watched it be real. But I'm tired of needing permission to travel.
Okay, what happened to you specifically?
My mom's in Kentucky. I'm in Ohio. She's 71. She had a scare last month, and I couldn't get across state lines because my clearance window expired. You know how insane that is? She's my mom.
Did you try to renew?
Yeah. It took 5 days. 5 days for a digital stamp that says I'm allowed to be a son. Meanwhile, companies move supplies with escorts like they're presidents, and regular people get told to wait.
That's the fairness issue.
Exactly. I'm not saying open everything. I'm saying don't build a system that turns normal life into a privilege.
And what about spread? You remember last year, one person moving can seed a whole town.
Then make it faster. Make it accessible. Don't punish the people who follow the rules. Because that's what happens. People get desperate and they go around it.
You're making an argument that strict systems can backfire.
Yeah. You want public safety, keep the public on your side.
I hear you, Evan, and I'm sorry about your uncle. Stay with us today.
I will.
That's the real debate. Not slogans, not politics as entertainment. It's a son trying to get to his mother.
And it's someone in a small town terrified that one traveler means a funeral.
We've got another call. Female caller. Name on the screen is Rita. She's furious. I'll take it. Rita, you're on. Go ahead.
My sister's been in the Bronx quarantine for 11 months. 11. She can't leave. Her kids can't leave. They've had 2 maybe dates and both got pushed back. When does this end?
Rita, first, I'm sorry. Second, are you in contact with her regularly?
When the lines work. Half the time the service is trash because the infrastructure there is still broken. And then people on TV act like it's all over because their neighborhoods got reopened.
This is why we keep saying, America's not one story. It's 1,000 different recoveries at different speeds.
Exactly. And my sister's in the slowest one. She's trapped in a place people pretend doesn't exist.
What's her name?
Marisol. Marisol Rivera.
Marisol Rivera. We're saying it on air. And here's what I can do right now. Not promises, not slogans. I can connect you to our station's resource list that includes legal aid groups and quarantine advocacy networks. I can't override a checkpoint, but I can make sure you're not screaming into the void.
I don't want a list. I want my sister out.
I know. And you have every right to be angry. Keep calling. Keep making noise. The worst thing is silence.
Okay.
Stay with us today, Rita.
I will.
That's what the afternoon feels like. Not memorial candles, paperwork, checkpoints, anger.
And fear. Because every policy conversation has that shadow behind it. Seattle.
The new variant report.
We're not going to speculate. We're going to move to the medical front in the next segment, where we talk about what we actually know now.
It's 3 p.m. Eastern. Part 7. The medical front.
We have Dr. Anthony Reyes, infectious disease specialist, on the line. Male caller. Jenny, you take it.
Dr. Reyes, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Jenny. And Michael, and to the listeners, I'm sorry we meet again under these circumstances.
People are hearing variant in Seattle, and they're thinking it's happening again. Give us the reality without sugarcoating.
The reality is, vigilance remains necessary, but panic is not helpful. A detected variant doesn't automatically mean a national wave. It means monitoring, testing, rapid response. The systems we built over the past year exist for this reason.
Okay, let's talk basics. What do we know now about the plague itself compared to the first weeks?
We know the transmission pathways with more clarity. It spreads through airborne particles and bodily fluids. The incubation period ranges from 2 to 14 days. Untreated, the mortality rate has been about 65% in vulnerable populations. Treatment and early intervention improve outcomes significantly.
People hear that and it's like getting punched. 65.
It is brutal. But it's important to understand that early last year we had almost no consistent protocols. Now we do. That alone saves lives.
Is it related to historical plague? People call it Black Death and think of medieval stories.
It's a hemorrhagic fever that appears related to historical Yersinia pestis in a mutated form, but it doesn't behave exactly like historical plague. The nickname reflects the appearance of bruising and hemorrhaging, as well as the scale of mortality, not a perfect scientific match.
So the name is emotional truth, not lab truth.
Exactly.
I'm going to ask something selfish. I recovered, I still get tested monthly, and I still panic when I feel warm. Is that normal?
Completely normal. The trauma is real, Jenny. PTSD doesn't distinguish between survivors and frontline workers. People associate bodily sensations, warmth, fatigue, cough, with terror. Your nervous system learned that those signals mean danger.
It feels like my body betrayed me.
It didn't betray you. It survived. But survival can leave scars.
Let's talk immunity. Survivors, do we have lasting antibodies?
Most recovered patients show lasting antibodies at the 1-year mark, though the strength varies. Immunity appears meaningful, but it is not a guarantee of never getting sick again. It may reduce severity and reduce spread.
So recovery helps.
It helps. And vaccines help. Phase 3 trials are showing around 73% effectiveness in preventing severe disease, based on current data.
73. That's not perfect, but that's something.
It's a major step. And combined with treatments, including antibody therapies that are showing promise, it changes the landscape.
But we have a healthcare worker shortage.
Yes. 40% of nurses and doctors in certain regions were lost, either to the plague itself or burnout leaving the profession. We're seeing accelerated medical training programs, emergency credentialing, and cross-state staffing initiatives.
Which means young doctors being trained in a world that's still bleeding.
Yes.
Mental health, do you have numbers?
Surveys suggest PTSD symptoms in a majority of survivors, with some regions reporting rates near 78%. Depression and anxiety remain elevated across all demographics. It is a public health crisis layered on top of a public health crisis.
So we're all patients now.
In a sense, yes. This affected everyone psychologically. Healing takes time, and it requires resources and community support.
Thank you, doctor. I know you've been doing this all year.
Thank you, and please tell people. Fear is understandable, but knowledge is power. Keep testing, keep protocols. Don't isolate in shame.
We hear you.
He said something important. Don't isolate in shame. Because after a year of this, people still get sick and hide it like it's a moral failure.
Or they hide it because they're scared they'll be locked away again.
We have a female caller on long plague symptoms. Name is Maria. I'll take it. Maria, you're on RedZone.
I didn't even know if I should call because people get annoyed when you're alive, but not.
Call anyway.
I got sick last year. I lived. Everyone clapped, everyone said I was a miracle, and then I never went back to normal. I'm exhausted all the time. My hands shake sometimes. I forget words. Like I'll look at a spoon and my brain goes blank. And doctors tell me they're seeing it, but they don't know what to do yet.
That sounds terrifying.
It is. Because I look fine. People say, you're lucky. And I am. But I also feel like I'm carrying a ghost inside my body.
You're describing what people are calling long plague.
Yeah, and I'm scared it means something's still in me. Like it never left.
What have your tests shown?
Negative, negative, negative. But I don't trust it. I don't trust anything anymore.
That lack of trust is part of the trauma too, Maria. And what you're feeling is real. You're not making it up. Survivors are reporting chronic fatigue, neurological issues. It doesn't mean you're contagious. It means your body got hit hard.
I just want someone to say I'm not crazy.
You're not crazy. You're a survivor dealing with aftermath, and you deserve care, not impatience.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling. Stay with us today.
I will.
It's hard hearing that because it makes the 1-year anniversary feel like a lie. Like the calendar flipped, but the damage didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, it's 4:30, Part 8, Survivor Networks. This is the section of the day where people reach for each other instead of just staring at the wall.
Support groups, orphan care, found family. The strange new normal of relationships in a world that's been cut in half.
We have Radio Tom calling in. Male caller. I'm taking it. Tom, we've heard your name all day. You've been a ghost in our messages. You're on.
Jenny, I didn't know if I could do it. I've been listening since the beginning, but calling feels like stepping out of hiding.
It's okay. You're safe here.
You got me through. Every morning I'd wake up alone in that apartment and turn on RedZone. You made me feel less alone.
Tom, you've been with us this whole time. You're family now.
I lost my actual family. My wife, 2 kids. They were gone before I even got sick. And then I stayed in that apartment 4 months because I didn't trust the hallway. I didn't trust the world. I'd put my ear to the door and listen for movement like I was prey.
What kept you going?
Routine. Your voices. The fact that even when you didn't have answers, you kept talking. You kept naming what was happening. When you said, "We don't know," it made me trust you more than the people who pretended they did.
People are listening right now who feel like you did. What would you tell them?
That isolation messes with your head. That you start thinking your fear is truth. And sometimes the fear is right. But sometimes it becomes a cage you build for yourself. I didn't leave until a survivor group knocked on my door. Not officials. Just neighbors. People who made a list of who lived in the building and who hadn't been seen.
Survivor groups. There are over 2,000 active across the country now, based on reports.
Yeah. And those groups saved me. They fed me. They got me to a clinic. They got me to a room with other people. And I realized I wasn't the only one who felt broken.
You're not.
I still miss my wife every second. But now I can say her name without feeling like it's going to crush me.
Say it.
Leela.
Leela. We hear her.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Stay with us today.
I will. All day.
That right there is the kind of rebuilding that doesn't show up in economic charts. It's a man leaving an apartment after 4 months because someone cared enough to knock.
We also have a female caller, Jessica, who started an orphanage in a former hotel. Michael, you take it.
Jessica, you're on RedZone.
Hi, I'm tired, so if I sound flat, it's not because I don't care. It's because I've got 47 kids in the next room, and they don't stop moving.
47?
47. We took over a hotel because the owner left the state and never came back. We cleaned it ourselves, turned the conference rooms into classrooms, turned the lobby into a meal line. We're not fancy. We're just functioning.
How old are the kids?
Youngest is 3, oldest is 16. Some of them watched their parents die. Some of them were found alone. Some of them have family somewhere, but the family can't travel or can't afford to take them. So we became family.
How are they doing today, on Remembrance Day?
Some are quiet. Some are acting out. Some are weirdly cheerful, like their brains can't hold grief yet. But they're laughing again. They're playing. Life finds a way.
That matters.
It does. And you're going to like this part. We have a wall. We call it the memory wall. Names, photos, drawings. The kids add to it when they're ready. We don't force it, but we don't let the world forget either.
That's powerful.
It's survival. That's what it is. And if anyone listening wants to help, not with speeches, with supplies, diapers, books, medicine, we'll take it.
Thank you, Jessica. And thank you for turning a hotel into a home.
Somebody had to.
Stay with us today.
I will.
Survivor bonds. People talk about plague bonds, strangers who became family because blood family was gone.
And the weird parts, too. Relationships. Dating. People trying to build intimacy in a world where touch used to mean danger.
Some people met in quarantine facilities and got engaged.
That's hope, even if it's complicated.
We have a youth caller, age 16, male. He says he lost both parents and lives with his grandmother. I'll take it. Hey, you're on RedZone. You can just tell us your first name.
I'm Leo.
Hi, Leo.
I lost my mom and dad last year. I didn't get sick. I didn't even know they were that sick at first. My dad kept saying it was allergies, and then one day he couldn't stand up, and then my mom started coughing blood, and I froze, like my body just stopped.
That freezing response is real, Leo. A lot of people had it.
Now I'm with my grandma. She's trying, but she's old, and I'm supposed to be a kid, but I'm the adult in the house sometimes. I make food, I check the doors, I keep the list of supplies.
That's a lot.
People say, "You're mature." I hate that. I don't want to be mature. I want my parents.
I know.
I just called because everyone's talking about rebuilding, and I don't know what I'm rebuilding. I feel like I'm building a life that doesn't have them in it, and that feels like betrayal.
It's not betrayal. It's continuation. Your parents loved you. They would want you alive. They would want you fed. They would want you to laugh again, even if it hurts at first.
How do you know?
Because that's what love is. Love doesn't demand you die with it. Love wants you to keep going. Okay, what are their names, Leo? Daniel and Priya. Daniel and Priya. We hear them. Thanks. Thank you for calling. Stay with us today.
I will.
Message boards are full of people searching for lost family. And sometimes there are reunions. Not enough, but some.
Someone just messaged, found my cousin after 8 months. That stuff keeps people breathing.
It's 6 p.m. now. Part 9. As darkness falls.
Evening always hits different now.
It does. Because last year, night meant fear. Curfews. Sirens. Silence. A feeling that if you fell asleep, you might wake up to another world.
And we did. We woke up to another world.
Jenny, you said earlier the person you were a year ago feels like a stranger. Do you still feel that?
Yeah, I do. I think about February 3rd last year. I was annoyed about traffic. I was worried about stupid stuff. I was still planning like the future was guaranteed.
Innocence.
Yeah, and now everything has a shadow. Even good things. Even laughter. Like your brain waits for punishment.
I don't know if I'm a better person after this. I know I'm different. We all are.
Different can be good, or it can be just damaged.
Both can be true.
We have a philosophical caller named David. Male caller. I'll take it. David, you're on RedZone. What's on your mind tonight?
I've been thinking about meaning. I know that sounds like a college class, but I can't stop. 12 million people gone. Friends, family. I keep asking if there's any purpose in it.
Okay, what have you landed on?
Maybe humanity needed to wake up, to realize what matters. Maybe we got too comfortable, too selfish.
12 million people didn't need to die for us to learn that lesson.
Michael! David, keep going.
No, he's right. I didn't mean it like that. I'm not saying it was worth it. I'm saying I'm trying not to drown in the idea that it was pointless.
That's honest.
I lost my sister, and she was the kind of person who believed the world was good. And I'm scared that if I admit this was senseless, then her belief becomes a joke. Her belief wasn't a joke. Her belief was a way of living. And maybe your job now is to carry that forward, even if you don't feel it. You really think that? I do. Because meaning doesn't have to be cosmic. Sometimes meaning is small. You take care of someone. You show up. You don't let the dead become a statistic. That helps. What was your sister's name? Elise. Elise. Thank you. Thank you for calling. Stay with us tonight. I will.
I shouldn't have cut in like that. I've heard people try to make it worth it, and it makes me want to break something.
You're allowed to be angry.
Yeah.
Religious communities became community centers. Churches, mosques, temples. People stopped arguing theology and started handing out food, turning basements into shelter, turning sanctuaries into clinics.
It wasn't about belief. It was about structure, a building, a network, people used to helping.
Arts and culture, too. Memorial concerts, plague literature, survivor art exhibitions, people trying to put the unspeakable into something you can hold.
Kids processing trauma, schools implementing grief counseling, teachers becoming part-time therapists because the system can't hire enough professionals.
And then the debate, are we better or worse after the plague?
I think we're both. We're kinder in some places, we're crueler in others. We're more awake, but also more suspicious.
Unexpected heroism, ordinary people saving dozens, people who didn't think of themselves as heroes until the day demanded it.
And there were strange side effects. Pollution dropped. Nature recovered in abandoned areas. Deer walking through empty streets. Birds in places you didn't hear birds before.
It's hard to call anything a silver lining when 12 million are gone, but the planet breathed for a second.
We have to do one final government PSA tonight about vigilance and protocols. One short, then we move on.
Public health officials continue to recommend regular testing where available, isolation after exposure, and adherence to local travel screening requirements. If you experience symptoms, seek medical guidance early.
That's it.
It's 8 p.m., Part 10. Tomorrow begins tonight.
We're coming to the final stretch of this 18-hour broadcast, and if you've been with us since sunrise, I want you to hear me say this. You did something hard today.
18 hours. We've been here 18 hours, and I feel like we lived through it all again.
We had to honor them, to remember.
We're getting messages from every major city about candlelight vigils tonight.
New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Houston, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Phoenix, Seattle, and small towns too. People lighting candles in driveways because the church isn't open anymore. People holding flashlights because they couldn't find candles.
The symbolism isn't fancy. It's simple. Light in the dark.
We also have a realistic projection that recovery is a 5 to 10 year road. Not a summer, not a year, not a back to normal slogan. A decade, maybe.
And that's hard to hear when people are already exhausted.
But it's better than lying.
We have a caller from the next generation. Female caller, age 19, name Amy. Michael, you take it.
Amy, you're on RedZone.
Hi, I'm Amy. I was 17 when the plague hit. I lost my dad and my brother. And I'm not calling to cry. I've cried enough for a lifetime.
You don't have to cry here.
Good, because I need people to hear this. I'm studying epidemiology now. Community college program, accelerated track. I'm doing it because I never want this to happen again, not on my watch.
That's the future calling.
Yeah, and I know people will say you can't prevent everything, but we can prevent some things. We can make systems. We can keep stockpiles. We can train people. We can stop pretending mornings are panic. We can build a world that doesn't collapse the second hospitals get full.
You sound like someone who's been forced to grow up fast.
I have, but I'm not the only one. My friends, half of us picked careers based on what we watched happen. Nursing, public health, logistics, water treatment. We're rebuilding from the bottom because we saw what happens when the bottom breaks.
What do you want from the older generation listening?
I want them to stop telling us to move on. We're not moving on. We're moving forward with memory. And I want them to help instead of getting defensive when we ask why things failed.
That's fair.
Also, I want to say my brother's name because I'm scared the world will forget kids like him.
Tell me.
Caleb.
Caleb.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling, Amy. Stay with us tonight.
I will.
That call. That's why people survive. Not just to breathe, to build.
There's also an announcement about a permanent memorial planned for the Ground Zero site. A national level marker. A place that holds this history in stone, so it can't be rewritten.
People need a place to put grief. Somewhere physical.
Now we're going to do something symbolic to close the day. The Survivor's Pledge. It's not government. It's not a slogan. It's a commitment people have been sharing in survivor groups.
We're going to read it. And if you want to say it with us, you can. If you can't, just listen.
I'll start. We remember the names.
We remember the faces.
We honor the dead with truth.
We honor the living with care.
We do not turn loss into entertainment.
We do not pretend it was nothing.
We rebuild with what we learned.
We protect each other, even when it's inconvenient.
We demand accountability without losing our humanity.
We carry our grief without letting it poison us.
We survive together.
We live together.
Now, one more contrast. I promised earlier we'd close by looking back at last year's broadcast voice. Not for drama, for perspective.
Okay.
February 10th last year, I said, officials say the risk remains low. And while I was saying it, my wife was already sick.
Michael?
Tonight, I'm not saying low. I'm not saying fine. I'm saying we know more now. We're stronger now. We're scarred, yes. But we're not blind the way we were.
We don't have innocence, but we have awareness.
We've heard from doctors. We've heard from builders. We've heard from the forgotten towns.
We've heard from kids. We've heard from the future. That's what today was.
I'm sitting here thinking about David, about Karen, about everybody we said today. And it feels like the studio's full, even though it's just us.
12 million empty chairs. And still, the country is full of voices.
If you're listening from a tent city, from a half-empty apartment building, from a rural trailer with no clinic nearby, from a hotel turned orphanage, from a survivor group meeting room, you matter.
And if you're listening from a place that feels normal again, don't look away from the places that aren't. The plague taught us that ignoring someone else's crisis doesn't protect you. It just delays the moment it reaches your door.
Tomorrow begins tonight. That's what this last segment is. Not closure. Beginning.
This is Michael Hale.
And Jenny.
RedZone Radio. 1 year after the Black Death pandemic in the United States. We remember, we rebuild, we keep going. Together.